Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. Let's take a moment to settle into this place in this time. Breathe deeply in and gently exhale. Settle into your chair or your cushion. Feel yourself relax into the breath and allow yourself to rest into this time together. This song really represents equanimity, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It takes a lot to come together, build a song in just an hour and a half. So we will talk about equanimity, and the Master has shared this week that it's also undifferentiated or limitless generosity. Think about that. Undifferentiated or limitless generosity. Equanimity is one of the Brahma Viharas. And just to remind us all what the Brahma Viharas are, or the four emotional states, there are a series of 4 Buddhist virtues. They are also referred to as the 4 immeasurables, or 4 abodes, or 4 sublime states. The Brahma Viharas are loving kindness, or benevolence, also called metta, compassion, or karuna, empathetic joy, mudita, or equanimity, upekkha. Let's take a moment to settle into the 4 abodes and check in with your relationship with them. When have you recently expressed loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity? More importantly, when and where have you felt them? What I mean by that is, where in your body do you notice when you are expressing joy or when you are receiving loving kindness? When have you expressed compassion or equanimity? And where do you find that in your body? Our body is the first to experience these expressions of receiving or giving, and it is important to notice, to be aware of where it shows up for you. So today, equanimity. What is it? What is undifferentiated or limitless generosity? The Buddha described a mind filled with equanimity as abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, and without ill will. Equanimity, one of the most sublime emotions of Buddhist practice, is the ground for wisdom and freedom and the protector of compassion and love. Still, more qualities of equanimity are revealed in the term Tatra Mahayata, a long compound made of simple Pali words. Tatra meaning there, sometimes referred to as all these things. Maha means middle. Tata means to stand or to pose. Put together, the word becomes to stand in the middle of all this. To stand in the middle of all this. This form of presence of inner calm, well-being, confidence, vitality, or integrity can keep us upright, like a ballast keeps a ship upright in a storm with strong winds. As inner strength develops, for example, from the accumulation of mindfulness in the ordinary moments of life, equanimity follows. Equanimity is a protection from what are called the 8 worldly winds: praise and blame, success and failure, pleasure and pain, fame and disrepute. Becoming attached to or excessively elated with success, praise or fame or pleasure can be a setup for suffering when the winds of change shift. For example, success can be wonderful, but it leads to, or can lead to, arrogance, and we will have more to lose in future challenges. Becoming personally invested in praise can tend towards conceit, identifying with failure. We may feel incompetent or inadequate. Reacting to pain, we may become discouraged. If we understand or feel that our sense of inner well-being is independent of the 8 winds, we are more likely to remain on even keel in our minds. So a simple definition of equanimity, considering the various roots, is a capacity to not be caught up with what happens to us. We can practice with equanimity by studying the ways we get caught. Instead of pursuing the idea of balance and non-reactivity directly, we can give careful attention to how balance is lost and how reactivity is triggered. Balance. Balance. I'm going to take a pause for a minute and invite one brave soul to come up here. Oh, good. Amy, thank you. I have borrowed from the lake these rocks up here. And Amy, I'm going to invite you. You can stay right here. And here are the rocks. And I want you to build a cairn for us. A cairn is where you build up the rocks and balance them.
Do you want me to leave it here or hold it in my hand?
Leave it right there. They're heavy. Just like the worldly winds, right? And there's some over there. Notice what she's doing. I know you might not all be able to see it, but there are various sizes of rocks. Each can represent the 8 worldly winds. And we figure out how to manipulate the rocks, to find the best balance. She's checking them out. You see, she's not just grabbing them and trying to throw them in. She's checking them out. She's taking time. She's dropping them. And we drop our things, right? I mean, this is all part of how we do our world. Can you tell me what you're feeling right now?
A little uncertainty.
A little uncertainty.
Because I think that it's going to fall.
Because it might fall.
And I want to accomplish this.
And you want to be successful?
Yeah.
Or just accomplish this?
I want both.
Both.
I have to use them all, right?
Yes. Or
not.
this is yours. So I operate a lot from metaphors. And I think it's important to look at what Amy did for us here. She actually did a very good job. Now the question will be, will it stay? Or if I punch my foot down, will it go over? I don't want to do that because I don't want anything to happen to the floor. But it might still go. And that happens as well. Life happens. The winds come through and knock what we thought, maybe all of it over, maybe some of it over. And then what? Then what is up to you? What do you do when your rocks have been moved? When they've fallen? Build again. Okay? That's one option. Is that true for you? You know, take some time. It's just your answer. What do you do when the rocks fall, when the balance goes off, when the winds come? There's an amazing YouTube, if you care to check it out, a man is in the water, and he's taking rocks, maybe some of you have seen it, and he's building, the water's flowing, and he's building these incredible cairns. It's amazing to watch. And as with impermanence, a storm or just a big wave comes and it's done. So let's just take a minute to consider this. What does balance feel like for you? How is it lost? And how does reactivity surface for you? We are currently experiencing many opportunities to respond or to react in our world today, daily. And if you turn on the TV, minute by minute. How do you react? How does it impact you? What happens to your rocks? The opportunity to respond versus react is up to you, and how you prepare yourself. As Amy did, she checked out the rocks. She didn't take a lot of time, but she checked out the rocks before she started building. Trying to fit into some idealistic model of what being equanimous is supposed to look like can all too easily produce such threats to equanimity as indifference, aloofness, rigidity, and complacency. When the obstacles are understood and removed, then the resulting equanimity can be the foundation of caring, presence, flexibility, and diligence. According to the Buddha, the way to bring about equanimity is wise attention, to be continually aware, moment to moment, without a break, based on the intention to develop equanimity. One moment of equanimity causes a succeeding moment of equanimity to arise. Once equanimity is activated, it will be the cause for equanimity to continue to deepen. Imagine a muscle strengthening with each visit to the gym, or the strength in your legs as you walk a little bit further each day. 3 years ago, I fell and broke my ankle. 1 week before I was supposed to go to Peru on a trekking expedition. Disappointment. Then the surgeon told me I had to have surgery. More disappointment. I tried to convince her it wasn't necessary, and she said, if you want to walk again for any length of time, you should have the plate and 6 screws put in. So for 6 weeks, I was off that right ankle. 6 weeks, that's a long time. When you've been hiking every day and hiking mountains every week. 6 weeks came, the x-ray came, ready to start walking. She took off the boot and said, okay, go. Now my head was really concerned. I'm going to walk on this? So slowly I started stepping in. I put the crutches away, I got a cane, and I took little steps around the house. And then I went out into the courtyard. And then I went down the steps. Not all at the same time. And then I went to the corner. And then down to the other corner. And then around the block. And it was coming. Slowly, slowly, step by step. And then about 4 months later, I put on my boot and went up to a park. I live in Portland. And just putting that boot on was kind of blew my head up a little bit. And then I walked. Gently, slowly. I didn't go far, but I walked in that boot. And I walked probably about 15 minutes out, 15 minutes back. Took the boot off, smiled to myself, took a breath, and realized I did it. I'm going to be okay. Okay? I didn't give it up. I didn't leave my foot up in that boot. It's free to walk now as I want. Equanimity is a natural state when we are at rest. When we are not carried away by fight, flight, or freeze, function of our protector, the amygdala, it's right here. We all have one, which is in our brain. It's the guard dog or the alert system. While at rest, we are able to be replenished and restored. Here the brain waves respond to open focus. And it's not narrow and tense, not a fixated state, trying to defend or achieve. It can bring one to deep levels of practice beyond the insight into the arising and passing away of phenomenon. When we are in an upregulated state, when our amygdala is in that fight, flight, or freeze, it is truly very, very difficult to find our way back. Unless we notice and pay attention. If we are aware. Attentiveness to patterns and behaviors, to causes and conditions that ignite us, will give us an opportunity to notice, pause, reflect, and respond. You've heard of the saying, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? Only when you can pause, take that breath, can you ask those questions in that moment. Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? So what? So what? Now, what do we do? Well, we can use meditation. We can use meditation to center ourselves, ground ourselves. We can meditate into equanimity. You can begin to know your patterns and behaviors, what engages and ignites you. Know your body, your early warning signs, your alert system. I used to work with children, and I would talk with them about the early warning signs in their body. And they didn't have to know what it was. I would say, simply just know something's up. Tell your teacher something's up. Tell your parents something's up. You don't have to know what it is. To know somewhere in your body, and where is that? For me, it's my gut. Then it goes to my chest, and the breathing changes. And then I feel this warm sensation coming up. And now something's up, if I haven't been paying attention. If it's anger, we have known and now know that anger is rarely, if ever, the first emotion. Rarely, if ever, the first emotion. Anger comes after sadness, disappointment, fear, anxiety, and it often comes out as anger. Sometimes to push people away, sometimes because there's no other place to go. Where I live several years ago, Mount St. Helens blew. I wasn't there at the time, but the stories are that there were many, many, many early warning signs with Mount St. Helens. She got bigger, the side of it started bulging, and they were telling people, get away, move away, don't, and there were several people that didn't. There were no steam vents to release that stress and that tension. She built further out until finally, bam, she exploded out the side, took out the whole crater, took out trees and ground cover. Several people were killed. There were many signs. We knew it was coming, and still we didn't pay attention. So as I tell the children, don't be like Mount St. Helens. Pay attention to the beginnings, the rumblings. And when you start noticing that bulging, slow down. Take a pause. Pause, breathe, feel the ground and decide, is this the right time? Am I the right person? Oftentimes, it's probably not. Gil Fronsdale, Dharma teacher, talks about 7 supports for equanimity. Integrity is the first. When we live and act with integrity or virtue, we feel confident about our actions and words, which results in the equanimity of blamelessness. The ancient Buddhist texts speak of being able to go into any assembly of people and feel blameless. Faith. While any kind of faith can provide equanimity, faith grounded in wisdom is especially powerful. The Pali word for faith is saddha. It's also translated as conviction or confidence. If we have confidence, for example, in our ability to engage in spiritual practice, then we are more likely to meet its challenges with equanimity. A well-developed mind. Much as we might develop physical strength, balance, and stability, like we talked about earlier from the gym or just walking, so too can we develop strength, balance, and stability of the mind. This is done through practices that cultivate calm, concentration, and mindfulness. When the mind is calm, we are less likely to be blown about by the worldly winds. We actually have MRIs that show the neurological system calming down with the breath when we sit and pause. And it doesn't take a lot of time. The breath literally calms your neurological system, your organs. And the more you do it, the less stress. The less stress, the less disease. The less disease, the more you're open and ready to keep moving. Well-being. In Buddhism, it is considered appropriate and helpful to cultivate and enhance our well-being. It is all too easy to overlook the well-being that is easily available in daily life. Even taking time to enjoy one's tea or the sunset can be a training in letting in well-being. After meditation this morning, I invited everyone that was there to just step out and before moving, to just take in the morning, the sunshine, the coolness, the birds singing, so many birds singing. Don't have to take a long time to do that. Just take that pause. I talk about the threshold moment. We get so busy in our lives, we rush back and forth, in and out. And so I've come to use the threshold moment. So every moment I go through a door, I stop for just a second or two. Every time I get out of my car, I pause for just a second or two. Becomes part of your building of that muscle. Then your body says, oh, I know this. I know how to do this. And you react slightly less each time. The fifth support is wisdom. Wisdom can teach us to separate people's actions from who they are. We can agree or disagree with their actions, but remain balanced in our relationship with the person. Or we can understand that our own thoughts and impulses are the result of impersonal conditions. By not taking them so personally, we are more likely to stay at ease when they arise. One of the most powerful ways to use wisdom to facilitate equanimity is to be mindful of when equanimity is absent. Absent. Honest awareness of what makes us imbalanced help us to learn how to find balance. I would tell teachers at the end of the day when you do your reflection, check in. Boy, I rocked that lesson. Or, man, I don't want to do that again. It's okay. Check in. Learn. Grow from it. Insight. Insight is a deep seeing into the nature of things as they are. One of the primary insights is the nature of impermanence. We still have this. It has not yet gone. In the deepest forms of insight, we see that things change so quickly that we can't hold on to anything. And eventually the mind lets go of clinging. Letting go brings equanimity. The greater the letting go, the deeper the equanimity. So when it arises, the teacher says, lean into it. The first time I heard that, I thought, no way. But as it's true, as you lean in, it calms down. It's not quite so strong. You don't have to lean in hard. Just be there. The seventh is freedom. Freedom comes when we begin to let go of our reactive tendencies. We can get a taste of what this means by noticing areas in which we were once reactive, but are no longer so. Take a minute. Consider that for yourself. When was there a time, yesterday, a week ago, a year ago, when you were 14, when there was something that came up and you reacted, probably especially 14. But as we grow and become more aware, we look at that and go, well, maybe it wasn't that big. It wasn't that necessary. In Buddhist practice, we work to expand the range of life experiences into which we are free. The Buddha says on equanimity, as a solid mass of rock is not stirred by the wind, so a sage is not moved by praise and blame. As a deep lake is clear and undisturbed, so a sage becomes clear upon hearing the Dharma. Virtuous people always let go. They don't prattle about pleasures and desires, touched by happiness and then by suffering. The sage shows no sign of being elated or depressed. That comes from the Dhammapada. The Majjhima Nikaya says, Rahula, develop meditation that is like the earth, for then agreeable and disagreeable sensory impressions will not take charge of your mind. Just as when people throw what is clean and unclean on the earth, feces, urine, saliva, the earth is not horrified, humiliated, or disgusted by it. Maybe these days. But in the same way, agreeable and disagreeable sensory impressions will not take charge of your mind when you develop meditation like the earth. I'm going to take a pause and let us rest into this. Equanimity and the power of balance. Joy of letting go. The joy of not being responsible for what others bring to us, what forces come to us. The knowledge of your own body, of where it settles in and how you can move that to a place that doesn't disrupt you or disrupt others. Equanimity, balance. Before we finish, I've asked my dear friend and Dharma sister something very big. In my mind, it was very big. And I asked her, because I believe that we learn by many, 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 in many ways. Clearly music, drama, dancing, drawing, painting, walking. But I had no idea there was going to be song at the front end, so shouldn't it be their music at the back end to leave us with? So before we finally finish, I'm going to ask my true Dharma sister to please come up, and she wrote this song. I got a text this morning, or I got a text when I woke up. 1:48, your song is finished. So we sat yesterday for just a few minutes, and then voila. That little space is peace of mind, caring for others. Peace of mind, peace of mind. In that little space is peace of mind, seeing others as yourself, feeling that they feel, and then acting upon it. Peace of mind, peace of mind, equanimity brings peace of mind, peace of mind, peace of mind, equanimity brings peace of mind. Yeah, so come on, let's stay on the path.
not just in your thinking, but in how you act. Desire and aversion on either side, but in that middle space, what you will find is peace of mind, peace of mind. In that middle space is peace of mind, peace of mind. Everybody sing with me. Peace of mind, equanimity brings peace of mind, peace of mind, peace of mind, equanimity brings peace of mind, peace of mind, peace of mind, equanimity brings peace of mind, equanimity brings peace of mind.